good day.
And that's not,
Good afternoon. My name is Allison McKenzie, and I am the chair of the Historic Conservation Board. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone about the rules of this proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on September 26, 2011, last amended on March 9, 2020. A copy of the rules of procedure is available for review in the back of the room and online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments such as attorneys, please stand now and take an oath administered by the board's attorney.
So anyone that's going to provide any testimony, if you could raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
This is a quasi-judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio Rules of Evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their service. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, before you begin your comments, please state your name and address for the record. With that said, let's proceed with the first item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 1 today is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 118 West 9th Street in the 9th Street Historic District downtown. This is an existing former church building that has been vacant for several years. The property has been purchased with the intent to convert it into an event center, which is a permitted use under the zoning So there is no zoning relief that is required for this project. It's just the certificate of appropriateness. And the changes to the exterior of the building primarily include replacement of the 2 sets of front doors on the left and the right of the building. The central doors will remain as they are. The installation of an ADA accessible lift to the left door, replacement side and rear entry doors, and then other than that, it is general repair and cleaning of the existing windows and masonry. So all the other remaining features aside from the 2 sets of front doors will remain in place. That includes the stained glass windows. The windows will be restored, including the cutouts that have been made for the air conditioning units that you can see on the side elevations. The most visible change obviously is going to be the ADA lift, which will be located on the side here. There is some small demolition proposed for the mechanical stack, which is not an original feature. You can see the rear door in this location is also not original. It's boarded over now, so that will be replaced with a new storefront door system. And the other thing to note on the plans is there was previously there was going to be a fenced-in area along the rear of the building. However, the applicant was not able to gain a lease for the alley space, so that fence and outdoor area will not be happening, but the doors will still be replaced to the rear alley. So starting with the proposed ADA access lift on the front facade, this is really the only viable location to bring this building up to compliance with the building code. The building is built at or very near the lot lines on the south of the east elevations, where the other doors are located to the building. They are pretty much right along the alley, and those alleys are still active and have not been able to be leased. So due to the proximity of that alley to the door, there's no space to provide either a ramp or a lift at those locations, meaning the only other option is to provide it on the front facade of the building. So you can see in the corner here, this is the proposed lift. It was chosen to be back in this corner where it would have the least visual impact on the building. There is another building adjacent to the church that projects out further, closer to the street. So that lift will be largely screened when viewed from the left of the church. It will be obviously visible from the other viewpoints, but being tucked kind of in the corner of that little recessed area seems to be the best option. As part of that lift, there will also the existing stone and concrete steps will be removed from that area in order to provide the required landing space. So that will be reworked to provide both the pedestrian access from the steps as well as the ADA lift. The other visible changes on the front primarily consist of the replacement of the doors in both the left and the right entryways. Those will be replaced in a similar configuration, with one door being slightly wider than the other in order to provide the required building code egress for both of those doors. Other than that, they will be repainted to match the paint color that is existing on the doors. So that will not be a major visual change. And then also there will be 2 small signs for identification placed on the front of the building. Those will be metal letters that will be externally illuminated. And aside from that, the side of the building is proposed to be repainted. It was previously painted in the past. The paint has failed and is chipping badly. So while the guidelines do list this building specifically as one that should not be painted in this district, it's staff's opinion that that is primarily intended for the front stone facade and not the side and the rear brick facades, which, as I mentioned, have already been painted in the past. So with that being said, staff does feel that these changes substantially comply with the conservation guidelines for the 9th Street Historic District. And staff recommends the board take the following actions based on plans by Springhouse Architects dated 2/22/24. Approve a certificate of appropriateness for 118 West 9th Street with the following conditions: that any changes to the plans required by SHPO and the National Park Service as part of the historic tax credit application shall be approvable by staff, and that the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you. I do have two folks who I assume are applicants signed up. If you'd like to come forward and provide any testimony, please do. What would you like to tell us to add to what staff has already informed us of?
I'm Sherry Scott, the architect and the owner of the building. I think that was a pretty good summary. I don't have any changes other than what he mentioned.
Great,
We're happy to answer any questions.
great. That you two are the only two I have signed up for this case. Are there any questions by the board for applicants or staff?
Did you say architect and owner?
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, has 118 West Street operated a banquet facility before?
No.
I don't know why I didn't think about it when I was there. The steps are stone, correct? Is there any chance that the removed steps can be used when you rebuild the platform to accommodate the lift?
The steps that are there have been repaired several times with a concrete topping, so I'm not exactly sure how.
So they're kind of sheathed in concrete now, is that what, yeah, okay, so it's kind of a move.
I would love to use them if we can, but I can't promise that that's gonna work.
The elevator that's on the left, that is rests on the sidewalk, and then do you said something about steps, or are you going to entrance the elevator right from the sidewalk?
Right from the sidewalk.
Okay.
It will swing open and the wheelchair will go in and then lift up, and there's another gate at the top to take you out.
Okay.
It's really like
Yeah.
Unlike our last meeting, I find this to be a much more appealing solution to the ADA. If for no other reason, it sort of hides the fact that an element has been taken away. So I have no objection to that at all.
Are there any additional comments or questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness as laid out by staff.
Second.
Call the roll. Mr. Zalasko?
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Ms. Smith Dobbins?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2 is an application for a certificate of appropriateness and zoning relief for the property at 50 East McMicken Avenue in the Over the Rhine Historic District. The applicant is proposing to build a new detached 2-car garage on the rear of the property, as well as rehabbing the existing building and building a new deck on the rear that will access all 3 levels of the building. The project does require zoning relief for the placement of the garage, which is located at the rear and one side lot line. The zoning code requires a 3-foot setback for each of those dimensions, and they're proposing 0, so zoning relief is required for the rear as well as the right side yard setback. The 2-car garage will be 1 story. It is placed, as I mentioned, along that rear lot line, so staff does feel that that is compatible with the existing placement along along this frontage. Most of the buildings along this Hust Alley along the rear, most properties do have outbuildings, and most of them are located along that rear lot line or very close to. So staff doesn't have any issues with the zoning relief that's proposed for this. As far as the certificate of appropriateness for the garage, staff also feels that this is appropriate. It is removing the vehicular entry from a street-facing facade and placing it at the rear along Hust Alley. There is currently a deteriorated parking pad at this location, so it has already been used for parking in the past. So staff does not feel that providing a covered parking area for that space would be a significant change to the existing pattern of development or the existing conditions on the property. It is 1 story in height, where most buildings along this frontage are around 2 stories. So it is within 1 story of the surrounding context. It will be sided with a hardy lap siding and 2 metal overhead garage doors on the alley frontage. This section of concrete block is only in the area where it overlaps the neighboring property, so that will not be visible from any vantage point. So staff does feel that this is appropriate and significantly or substantially complies with the guidelines. On the main building itself, it will primarily be repaired as is. The storefront system will be restored with the new JELD-WEN storefront windows. And new JELD-WEN double hung windows will be installed throughout the rest of the window openings. On the rear, you can see in the elevation drawing the deck that is proposed that will help to allow access, egress access from all the levels of the building. That does include specific windows that will be widened into door openings to allow access to that deck, as well as a new opening created at ground level for access to the ground level patio. And then on the side elevation, there are a couple windows that will be infilled. You can see those at these locations with the street frontage being on the left. These are set back far enough that they are not highly visible from the street. So staff does not have any major concerns with infilling those existing openings. So staff does recommend the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on the plans by Michael Wentz, AIA dated 3/8/24. Approve a dimensional variance of 3 feet for a 0 rear yard setback, and approve a dimensional variance of 3 feet for a 0 right yard setback, as well as approve a certificate of appropriateness for 50 East McMakin Avenue with the following conditions. The infilled windows on the east side elevation shall have brick material inset at least half an inch to denote the location of the original window, and any remaining sills and lintels shall remain in place, and that the building permits must be issued within 2 years or the COA shall expire.
Thank you. I do have 3 people signed up for this issue. I think they're all either architects or owners. If that's the case, please come on up if you'd like to add anything or answer questions.
Hello, thank you. My name is Michael Wentz. My address is 7813 Ted Gregory Lane, Montgomery, Ohio, 45242. I'm the architect.
And I'm Neil Marquardt. I am the owner. And I'm at 42 West McMicken, which is about 3 blocks away from 50 East McMicken.
Is there anything additional you would like to tell us?
Yeah, just give it a little background. Neil's been a great supporter of rehabbing buildings down in OTR and downtown in general. I think this is, what is this, building number
7?
7? Okay. Anyway,
6,
so
7.
this is along a stretch of East McMicken. It's pretty tired and pretty, it needs some help. So this building has been empty for quite a while. So Neil's been kind of, I call him a pioneer, because he's done some things with some buildings before they're probably ready to be done. So we've taken a look at this building and it's a big, nice building, lots of windows and ripe for a new life and some fresh life born into it. We're not really looking to do anything significantly to change the building. The windows, I'm not even sure if there's any windows in it or if they're all just boarded up.
Boarded up.
They're all just boarded up, so there's really nothing there. So except for the storefront that needs to be replaced as well. Regarding and because it is a transitioning neighborhood, we felt that the secured parking in the back, the garage, was kind of necessary off of that alley. The alley's pretty well lit and it's pretty wide. It's not really tight to turn in, so we feel like we can push that garage out to the property line and still we have 10-foot wide garage doors, so we have plenty of room to swing in. It's a fairly roomy garage, but the garage is meant to be kind of just a background building. We don't want that to be a signature piece or something that would cause attention. It's going to be kind of I think the colors are a gray color, and it's kind of going to be just a background garage off of that alley. But we want to breathe some new life into this building that's been vacant for many years. I don't even know how many years.
Many.
So I just wanted to give that background on the building.
Anything else you'd like?
Well,
to
just
add?
I am very excited about the garage. I think it'll add value and I think it'll add much needed safety. As you said, Mike said, really well lit, lighted alley. And so we're excited about that piece as well.
Are there any questions by the board?
Just a matter of curiosity and really more for Mr. Owner, staff. Does the city own the parking lot on the other side of that alley? Do you know?
Do you mean the large? That's the healthcare facility that you can see in one of the photos.
Oh, okay.
So that's, I think it's privately owned and it's massive. It's a big parking spot, big parking lot.
And it's owned by,
The McMicken Healthcare Clinic, I think it is.
thank you.
And you guys are on the part of the alley that's wider there, right?
Yeah, it opens up really nicely.
Any other questions?
I have some doubts as to your experience. I don't know anybody who's done this kind of work, doesn't have more gray hair.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So other than that, it all looks good.
All right.
You have evidence of that?
Yeah, it's right here.
Right here.
Personal experience.
If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the dimensional variances for, wrong page. Yeah, that's right. 450 East McMicken Avenue and are we asking for a COA?
Yes.
And the COA, or notes by staff.
Second.
Call the roll. Mr. Zalesko?
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good luck.
Hey,
Back in with you.
Catch up with you.
Back in
Yeah.
9 months.
next item is staff approvals. Were there any questions on the staff approvals included in the packet?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I had a couple, specifically on 427 Chestnut Street, the mini split systems. My understanding is that the typical way to install those is to cut into the building and run through a wall. What is staff's view as to that impact versus something else where somebody wanted to cut an opening?
So generally, I think the mini split penetrations are smaller than, if it were to be creating, like a new window opening or something along those lines that may be bigger than like a bathroom vent. But for this particular property, there was not a lot of other options for placing them on either a rooftop or in a rear yard or somewhere along those lines. So being on a side elevation that was not highly visible, that was the justification for that approval.
All right, I have no, they're a great solution to a problem, and I just wanted to understand how you were looking at it. And then we have 3 different things for wall murals, and this is more educational for me. We're obviously not in the business of determining what goes onto murals. How is content monitored? And I was particularly thinking about historic districts. Is there content that would be inappropriate? Is there somewhere in the city where that's being reviewed?
So the zoning code regulates artistic wall murals, which primarily our review consists of whether or not those murals include any kind of signage, whether that's on-site or off-site, which would be prohibited in most cases unless it was for a business that had street frontage where the mural was being placed and it was advertising that business itself, where it could be approved potentially as a wall sign along those lines. But as far as the broader content of the mural, that's not something that's regulated by the zoning code or the conservation guidelines. I'm not sure if there are any other regulatory.
Okay, I was just curious. As I was looking through those, I was like, oh.
Well, how many organizations are proposing murals?
These murals that were approved in March are all for Artworks Cincinnati. And then we'll be having several murals, or more than several, quite a few murals that are going to come through for Blank this year. Those are primarily the main big organizations that apply for these wall murals. Sometimes we also have just a private homeowner that will want a wall mural. But these are, like I said, they're not regulated for the content other than signage. So we really just make sure that the wall itself is appropriate to be painted. So we don't allow wall murals in historic districts on exposed brick walls. It would have to be a wall that's otherwise had previously been painted, or it meets the delegation memo requirements for at least 25% of the wall being deteriorated and having been examined by a mason that the paint will help to protect the brick.
Seems like they're everywhere now.
Yeah, I love almost without exception, I love the murals. They're a nice addition, and I was just curious, so thank you. Those were all the questions I had.
Does anyone else have questions? If not, I will entertain a motion on the staff approvals.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the March staff approvals.
Second.
Roll. Mr. Zelasco.
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman.
Aye.
Calvin. Mr. Voss.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. CLG grant application.
Yes, so I wanted to just give you a brief update on this. So the city of Cincinnati is a certified local government with the Historic Preservation Office, and as part of that program, there are certain grants that are made available to all the CLGs in Ohio every year. So we have the opportunity to apply for those any year. And this year we are working with Cincinnati Preservation Association as well as the Brewery District on a grant application to help survey existing brewery-related resources. So with a special attention paid on underground resources. So that would be logging tunnels primarily and things along those lines. So there's an effort underway to figure out exactly where these tunnels may be through documentary research, and potentially eventually submit a multiple property documentation form for Cincinnati's brewery related resources. So those are the initial phases, and it may also eventually have a local designation component where it would either be added to some existing districts that we have, or as a new scattered site district in the city with its own conservation guidelines. So as part of the CLG requirements, we are supposed to update the board to let everyone know that this is being submitted, and the Historic Preservation Office may contact the chair to make sure that you're aware of that. So
I assume there's no.
You've been warned.
You've been warned. Any questions for Doug? Is there any other business today?
No, ma'am, that is it.
I will entertain a motion regarding adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Easy game.